Hello and hello, friends. Welcome to the pilot episode of the Billboard Rewind show with Mama Kay and special guest Billboard chart guy, who I hope will be joining me more often than not on this new show. And this is the pilot. The idea of this show came out of me thinking about Billboard charts, believe it or not, while I was running one day and thinking about just the discussion. I was listening to Billboard top 40 countdowns with Casey Kasem and having thoughts about the songs, and this kind of spurned on a creative juices, as they say, and having a conversation with Billboard chart guy, we decided to try a pilot episode and give it a go. So welcome, Billboard chart guy.
Thank you very much. Good to be here. Nice to be at the ground floor of this new potential podcast. So Thank you for having me.
Yes, no, I'm happy to have it. There would be no other person other than Kirk Minahan himself who would be a better fit for this show, to be honest, more than myself even. But some history in radio, and I too had a somewhat big obsession, especially in my youth, with Billboard charts, and had my subscription and used to read them religiously. I do not, I can't say I still do, but that's where I think you'll be a great input of knowing a lot of this stuff a little bit more off the top of your head. So the concept of this show, and it's a little bit of an homage to some former podcasts that some of our fellow world, KMS World folks have done. Quantum Week did the random week, and we are kind of doing a random week, and we are letting AI take this job for us. We give them the parameters of any Saturday between the years of, actually January 1st, 1970, all the way up to December 31st, 2009. We will rewind whatever week they give us and discuss the top 5 songs of that Billboard chart week, and just discuss it, our opinions, our anecdotes, our stories, our chart information, any little fun facts or tidbits about the song, the artist, anything that we feel floats our boat, we want to share about it. And then we'll have a couple wild cards that we'll each pick at the end, 2 songs that were also on the top 40 outside the top 5, and discuss those. And then we'll go from there. This is not going to be a weekly show. It will likely be every couple of weeks, or, whenever we can fit it in. There's obviously a little research and stuff with the show. So, busy lives and busy work and families and stuff. We don't want to lock ourselves into a weekly, but I'm grateful for Kirk and his network and Menors putting the Minifan network together, that we have a platform for this. So having said all of that, the first week, which we did, we picked a couple weeks ago via Chat GPT. We got lucky, didn't we?
Well, absolutely. Right in my wheelhouse. Absolutely.
I know you were sweating it out.
I didn't want to see 2008 pop up.
It's going to come. See, that's going to be the beauty of when that does happen, and inevitably, is that,
Right.
I was in the middle of raising little kids. I only knew like kids music at that point. So I'll have to do a little more research, but I think it will be fun for some of the younger folks that may be in the world who choose to listen to this podcast to hear our thoughts on some of their music. But yeah, we got lucky. Week ending July 3rd, 1982. So that was a great time for music, and definitely nostalgic for me. And I'm a little younger than you, but I know you were probably in the heart of your musical life too.
Yeah, just turned 17 and full head of hair.
Oh, I wasn't quite that old. Let me think. 82. I was 11. 11. I was about 11. So I wasn't really too into the radio yet, but I was getting there. I was still probably listening to a lot of my parents' stuff because I didn't have my own yet. But I certainly, once I found music in top 40 radio, went back and consumed as much of the 80s music as I possibly could. So we're ready to begin.
Let's do it.
All right. So you want to start number 5?
So we're going to go backwards from 5 to 1, and I'll start with number 5 on the charts that week was "Hurt So Good" by John Cougar. So he was John Cougar at that point, before John Cougar Mellencamp. Previously, he was Johnny Cougar. He eventually just became John Mellencamp, as we all know. But "Hurt So Good" peaked at number 5. That's as high as this song got. John Mellencamp, obviously, he's had a storied career. 10 top 10 hits overall. This is obviously one of them. So in 1982, this was an extremely popular song. And my view of it at the time was and it was a little harsh, but he was a bit of a second-rate Springsteen.
That is definitely something that people have said over the years. I didn't personally think that, but I'm not surprised that was your opinion of him as well, being such a Springsteen file as you are.
Yeah, and to be fair, that opinion changed pretty quickly with his next couple of albums. But at the time, this just felt like a knockoff. And at that time, there was a bunch of knockoffs, whether it was John Eddie, the movie Eddie and the Cruisers came out around this time. Mellencamp, obviously. So very popular song. I forget which album, Mama Kay, this is from. I don't know if you have that.
This is his American Fool album. Yeah, okay. It was the lead single from the American Fool album.
So was that Jack and Diane also was on that album?
Yeah, and that's funny because that's the song I remember John Cougar, excuse me. That's the first song I really remember from him. I do, of course, remember this song, after that, but I remember first knowing the name John Cougar from Jack and Diane, even though this was the lead single. I probably, it played for years on album rock radio and then classic rock, and it's had some huge longevity. So it was definitely a huge song, and I think it won the '83 Grammy for Best Male Rock Vocal Performance. So it launched his career, I would dare say, into kind of what became the next decade of huge Mellencamp. I still, Cougar.
Yeah, he had a nice run. He had top 10 hits through 1994. The last one was the cover of Wild Night. He did. But yeah, he had a very strong run. The album next was Aha. And then I think it was Scarecrow. I mean, he had a really strong run. Lonesome Jubilee was a great album. But yeah, this is kind of, he might have had another hit. I Ain't Even Done With the Night, which I think was a hit in like 79 or 80.
Right.
But you're right. This album and this song really kicked off his popularity.
Yeah, and it's not my favorite of the Cougar Mellencamp songs. It's a good one. It has that very defining, recognizable opening guitar riff, which is you can hear it. The song the minute you hear it. I would say Pink Houses is my favorite John Cougar Mellencamp song. I love that song. It's probably, honestly, in my top 10 favorite songs of all time.
Wow.
Yeah. I absolutely love that song. That is like a road trip driving song for me. This song, again, like I said, it's great. Obviously, just from the standpoint of longevity and everything, wasn't my favorite of his. It did get huge MTV rotation, and yes. I think that's kind of also helped. He hit right at the beginning of MTV, and I remember what was his other video, "The Walls Come Tumbling Down." I remember that video was, must have played 100 times.
Tumbling Down, yeah, that was on the next album. Yeah,
right.
My favorite Mellencamp song is "Cherry Bomb."
Oh, okay. All right, interesting.
I like that one.
That's a good one. I wouldn't have thought that one, but yeah, no, that's a good song. Good pull. Another one that played a lot on
You want to talk about number 4?
Sure, absolutely. So that was 5. Then the number 4 song that week was Heat of the Moment by Asia. It was an iconic 1982 hit. The supergroup, obviously, Asia. I have a lot to say about them, being that it was one of my early favorite bands of my cassette tape era. It's my first. It wasn't this album that was my first cassette tape. It was their next. This was Asia's self-titled album that this song came off of. But their Alpha album, which is their next one, was my first cassette tape that I got. But Asia was formed basically right before this album with a supergroup of folks from, you had Steve Howe from Yes, you had Carl Palmer from Emerson, Lake and Palmer, you had Jeffrey Downs from the Yes and the Buggles. We all remember the Buggles. They're famous for their first MTV video.
That's right.
Ever to Air. The video killed the radio star. Excuse me.
That's right.
And John Wetton from King Crimson. And so it was a super group that came together. And this song was, I enjoy this song quite a bit. Actually, Heat of the Moment is a great song. I know that John Wetton had described it as the only song he had ever heard that begins with an apology. And if you remember the opening line, which is, I'm not going to try to sing it, by the way. Yeah. I never meant to be so bad to you, which basically apologizing, which it just has that, just kind of that rhythm guitar chord throughout, has a little bit of, it has a lot of texture to it, and it's very pop friendly. So I enjoyed this song, and it has endured in many pop culture things. I remember it in South Park. I don't know if you're a South Park fan, but Cartman sang it to Congress while advocating for stem cell research. So. But great, just a great song, great band. I think they originally planned to do this as more of a country style ballad. But after they got into the studio and started working through it, it became their contrasting ideas kind of just pumped it up to more like a power arena ballad kind of song. Yeah,
it's hard to imagine it as a country
song. Yeah, no, I would love to have heard the original on that, to be fair.
Yeah. You know, this was a big song for me as well. Okay, it got to number 4, where it is this week in 1982. That was the peak position. Asia as a band, and they were definitely one of the biggest super groups of all time. They, besides Heat of the Moment, from this album, Only Time Will Tell, got to number 17, and then on their follow-up album, the song Don't Cry cracked the top 10 again.
That's a great song.
In September of 83. So personally, this was the second concert I ever saw.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so I saw them in the spring of 1982 up at Saratoga Performing Arts Center, and just went basically based on Heat of the Moment. I wasn't really aware of their history in the other bands, the individual players. I didn't know that either when I first got my album. I just really liked their songs. Yeah.
I got a little more immersed into music that I realized where they all,
they all came from. And after that concert, that did lead me down a little bit of a prog rock road where I checked out, whether it was Genesis when Peter Gabriel was the lead singer, more so, I really didn't, that era of Genesis didn't really appeal to me. Kind of when Phil Collins took over as lead singer, that's when I got, really hooked into them. But Genesis was on the forefront of prog rock, as well as Yes, where Steve Howe and Jeff Downs came from. And, shortly after this record, Yes reunited and put out 90125, which had Owner of a Lonely Heart on it, which
A
was a
huge
huge
album.
hit.
Huge
Yeah,
album.
huge album. What was it?
Also
Leave It.
huge on MTV. They hit right.
Yeah.
They were big in their productions on MTV, if
Yes.
I recall.
Yeah. Yeah. So the importance of this song for me personally is really it kind of introduced me to this genre of music that I really never took the time to listen to when I was a little younger than 17. And I will, the Yes song Roundabout, I will put up against any rock song of the 70s. It is a tremendous uh, song, and the guys from Asia were some of the guys from Asia were involved in that. So yeah, very cool. And um, they were, if you think about it, Mama Kay, they were really a band of that moment.
Sure.
Musically, the way
Sure.
they
Absolutely.
looked, the videos, the way they you couldn't imagine Asia in 1998 still
No,
going,
no,
at least
no.
in my mind.
No, and as much as we're a little bit more tapped into this generation of music, but none of these guys alone, with the exception of maybe a Carl Palmer who had Emerson, Lake and Palmer, like they weren't like huge, like celebrity musicians. I mean, people knew them. They were
Yep.
obviously wildly talented, but it wasn't like super group of like Eric Clapton, Steve Winwood type stuff with when they got together, or Traveling Wilburys. These were not those types of names, but they were so supremely talented and really tapped into the feel. You're right, of the time, for sure.
All right.
Awesome. All right, you want to go to the next one? You can start this one off.
Yeah, I got a lot to say about this one. So
I think I know what you're going to say, and I think we might be on the same page.
Okay. Yeah, we did not compare notes to be.
No, we don't.
Yeah,
this is all surprise to us.
Yeah. So Ebony and Ivory by Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder was number 3 on the charts the week of July 3rd, 1982. This song came from McCartney's Tug of War album. So at its position this week that we're looking at, it was on the way down. It had peaked at number 1 in May of that year, 1982. When I heard this song, I was like, oh boy, this is not good for either of these artists. 2 guys who I've
It was
loved
a monster
forever. It was a huge hit, and got to number 1, but this was really this kind of set McCartney on a path that he did not recover from probably until the end of the decade when he collaborated with Elvis Costello. But shortly after this song got to number 1, he did a duet with Michael Jackson, which was on Thriller, called The Girl Is Mine, which got to number 2 in 1983. And then at the end of that year, Say, 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 another duet with Michael Jackson, got to number 1 in December of 1983. It just felt like at that particular moment, this was Paul McCartney. This was a Beatle. He had songs throughout the 70s that were giant hits. And it just felt like he needed to have other collaborators to have his songs make the charts. And that was disappointing as a longtime Beatles fan and a longtime McCartney fan. Yeah, it was kind of, in my mind, and again, if you feel differently, let me know. But in my mind, this was kind of a downward path for him, which he didn't get out of for 5 or 6 more years.
Well, I will say I hate this song.
Don't mince words.
With like the fire of a million burning suns, I hate this song. Now, ironically, I can sing every word to this song because it got played.
Right.
I mean, what was it, like 7 weeks at number 1? It was huge. So it was always on, and it was always on MTV, and it was overplayed. But it's sappy, it's trite, it's it's obviously trying to send a message of racial harmony and racial integration and stuff with the ebony and ivory, obviously. But
Yep.
although I will say, and this is coming from a different, maybe different generation a little bit from you, is I didn't really know the Beatles that much when this song came out. I was younger. I was 11. My parents were not into that kind of music. I've never been, I obviously respect their long-standing place in, rock and roll history and why they're as big as they are. But I've never been a huge fan of them. And so my first real introduction to Paul McCartney was these songs, were these collaborations of the 80s. And he was just kind of like I liked his Michael Jackson's ones better than this, but
absolutely. Yep.
Still not anything that I would, put on my 80s mixtapes for today. But I think Rolling Stone even listed it as one of the worst duets of all time. So, I don't know what their reasoning was for that, but I just find it a very cheesy song. And I've never really loved it. Ironically, I do know that it was banned in South Africa because Stevie Wonder was very outspoken outspoken support for Nelson Mandela and criticism of apartheid. So they didn't love that message, so they banned it. And I do know that Weird Al made a cover of it that I enjoyed quite a bit. That was a big Weird Al time for me. So
yeah, and I'm sure you've heard the Saturday Night Live version of this song.
That's one of the most one of the most famous skits of all time, with Eddie Murphy doing his Stevie Wonder and
Joe Piscopo.
Joe Piscopo.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Doing Sinatra.
Those are how the song, I think the song lives on actually more as a joke, which is sad for both of those artists.
Yeah.
They were giant artists.
Yeah, and it's sad to say that version that was on SNL, it kind of is the definitive version of the song.
Right.
I'm
not going to imitate it, but everybody can hear Eddie Murphy doing it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that was So that was and that little that's a little difference in the 6 years between us, right? That I knew more about the Beatles than you did, and so interesting.
Sure.
All right, let's move off Ebony and Ivory, and let's go to number 2. Why don't you tell us number
two? All right, another big band of the 80s, Toto with Rosanna, which I love this song. Still enjoy this song to this day. Love the video. It was on their album Toto 4. Which was a huge commercial hit, and it was a big comeback for them. I think their previous album was a flop. And the name Rosanna has long been, rumored to have been about Rosanna Arquette, who was dating the keyboardist. But from what I understand, it was more that her name. They used her name because it fit like in the song, but it wasn't technically about her per se, so we'll let that debate rage on, I suppose. But I also remember the video with Cynthia Rhodes, who was at that time known for Saturday Night Fever and Dirty Dancing. She was the girlfriend in Dirty Dancing who gets pregnant, and she was also in the follow-up with Staying Alive, which was the cheesy-ass follow-up to Saturday Night Fever. But she married, do you know who she married in real life?
Tell me.
So this is Cynthia Rhodes, who played the character of Rosanna in Toto's song. She married Richard Marx and was married to him for 25 years.
Wow, okay.
So, yeah, they lasted a long time and then he's kind of gone crazy since. But it was a huge hit. It won Record of the Year, Grammy Award. They won Album of the Year, beat out Michael Jackson that year, which was huge and kind of ironic since a lot of the members from Toto played on Thriller. So they were going to get success one way or another.
So like you said, it was a huge album. It would spend this song spent 23 weeks on the chart. It never got to number one. Number two was its peak position. Toto, as a band overall, had 4 top 10 hits. Rosanna, Africa, Hold the Line was number 5 in '79, and then I Won't Hold You Back got to number 10 in May of 1983. So I have a little bit of a love-hate with Rosanna.
Okay.
Mama
Let's hear
Kay,
it.
just because when the song came out, I loved it. And I was a fan of Hold the Line from '79, so I was excited that they were back and they had a big hit. And then Africa came out.
Oh yeah, well, yeah.
And Africa was the second single. It got to number 1 in early 1983. That song was everywhere.
It still is.
Well, it still is. 40 years later.
Got remade. So
but Rosanna takes a hit in my mind just because of Africa.
Gotcha.
So now, how many years later, I can listen to Rosanna and kind of enjoy it again, but it was tainted for me for a long time because of Africa.
Well, it's funny. The entire song was written in about, including the melody, the chords, the title, all like within 10 minutes, apparently. Right. And he was trying to write something a little more upbeat because the rest of the album was a little darker or more melancholy, so they wanted to do something, a little bit upbeat. And honestly, I think with this song, it allowed them the success of their other songs because it came out, it was so pop friendly, at a time when it needed to be. So, but yeah, some great long lasting songs written very fast. I don't know, as you know, you see some songwriting. It can take years or it can take minutes.
Yeah.
You never know what you're gonna get.
Exactly. Well, should we roll up to number 1?
Yeah, let's roll up. Go ahead.
All right. Well, number 1 for the week of July 3rd, 1982, Don't You Want Me by the Human League. It spent 28 weeks, more than half a year on the charts. It lasted 3 weeks at number 1. This was one of the most synthy songs of the 80s.
It is an 80s song.
Again, another 80s, the look of the video. When I think of the Human League, I think a little bit of A Flock of Seagulls. I think of Soft Cell. It was all kind of a mishmash, but sounding similar but different in the early 80s. The Human League had a decent career. They had 3 top 10 hits, including Don't You Want Me. I'm Only Human went to number 1 as a follow-up to this song. And then in '86, Keep Feeling Fascination got to number 3. I believe that they were involved in Band-Aid. If my memory serves me correct, I should check with Melissa Gorman on that. But I believe they were at Band-Aid, the recording of Do You Know It's Christmas After All.
Only watched that video a bazillion times, but
exactly.
they weren't on my top of my list of people to be, memorable artists of my childhood. So I can't remember that.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this song?
So, I'm kind of right in like the meh with them. I like their song "Human," probably the best of their chart songs. Mm-hmm. This song to me, yes, it's very nostalgic. It could be put in a time capsule for the early 80s and it would define that time in music and videos, just with the look and the fashion and everything, and the synth by a lot. The song itself, it's one of those that I obviously, it's lasted. It's kind of been in the zeitgeist forever. You hear it in movies still to this day, songs. it's lasted. But I honestly, it's kind of one of those songs when I think about it, I'm like, I don't hate it, I don't love it, just kind of is, part of my childhood. I know it, I can sing all the lyrics. What I didn't know is that when I was like kind of looking up the information about it, is that it was inspired by the movie A Star Is Born, which that whole fading male star, rising female talent
I didn't know
dynamic.
that.
Yeah, I didn't know that. And that's kind of why the verses alternate between Phil Oakley, who's the lead singer, and that Susan Ann Sully, who is one of the females in the vocalists, which is the only time they really did kind of like a duet as a band with the female. They were featured so prominently on this, which they hadn't been previously or much later, actually. But they ended up getting such, they were prominently featured in the video. So they kind of, became, when you think of Human League, you think of those women as well as
That's right.
That's right. But I it's one of those things, like it's a good song. It was a huge song, but really doesn't move me either way. Don't hate it, don't love it. I liked Human, the song Human. I'd much rather listen to that. But
and I actually prefer the other one, Keep Feeling Fascination.
That's a good song too, yes. But
yeah.
I think I would pick Human of the three of their chart toppers or chart. Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, it was an interesting top five.
It sure was. And it was, catching a few of these moving away from their peak. Some, I think, we're one of the wild cards, which we'll talk about in a minute. Right before that started a dominant run, but wasn't in the top five yet. So, yeah, it was an interesting week looking at the top 40 of that week and trying to remember some songs on here that I didn't even remember, and then some that I haven't heard in a long time, and some monster hits that have lived forever in the 80s lore. So it's kind of
it was that the week we picked here, there was some country artists, there was some middle of the road stuff. Very interesting week.
Well, I think
but that's the early 80s.
Early 80s is the last time really that you had so many, I would say, like just a mishmash of styles. I mean, coming together, which, later on they ended up getting segmented out into their own formatting. But, country, you had what we now call yacht rock. You had obviously the synth pop coming of age, some rock. So it was an interesting time for sure, and a great time. You can put on 80s, early 80s music, and you're going to hear so many different types of music for sure.
Absolutely.
So one of the things we're going to do now that we've done the top five is pick. We each have two wild cards that we could choose for whatever reason. That floated our boat in the top 40 that were outside of the top five, and kind of, why you chose it, what it means to you. Do you like it? Do you hate it? All those thoughts. So I'll let you go first and pick your first wild card.
All right. Well, my first one is Eye of the Tiger by Survival.
Well, we have our first double, so it'll be interesting.
Our first double.
You go first. You go.
All right. So it peaked at number 9. As most of you know, Eye of the Tiger was in the Rocky III soundtrack and part of the movie, a big part of the movie. The reason I picked this, Mama Kay, is I took my SATs in it must have been May of 1982. It was on a Saturday morning in Kingston, New York, for all my Ulster County fans out there. And we took the SAT, and a bunch of us went to the movies right afterwards, and we saw Rocky III. So that memory popped into my head once I saw Eye of the Tiger on the list this week. It's, it is a quintessential song.
I would think if you were doing a top 10 songs of the 80s, it almost has to be on there as mutually like agreed upon by everybody. It was just such a huge one.
Yeah. And the band Survivor, I don't know if they had any other hits.
They did. They had
Okay.
What was that song that was it? But you know what? I don't know what the charting position was of it. I'm trying to remember it, but they did have because I know I used to have mixtapes.
Yeah.
And I loved one of their other songs.
Well, you know what? I just pulled it up. They had 5 top 10 hits.
Yeah,
So
no, they definitely had some other hits, because if you say the name of the song, I'll remember which one it was.
So the other 4 songs, there was a song called "Burning Heart," which went to number 2 in '86, February. "The Search Is Over," I remember.
That's it.
That went to number 4. "High on You," which I also remember.
I also like that song. Yes.
That peaked at number 8 in March of '85, and then "Is This Love" got to number 9 in January of '87. So 5 top 10 hits for Survivor.
Yeah, I picked this song, "Eye of the Tiger," specifically because of its lasting, just its longevity in lasting in our world and the zeitgeist, and also that it is one of my, as I do enjoy running, one of the most quintessential running songs that you need on any running playlist to get you going, especially if you're in a race. And it was huge, obviously, with Rocky III, and one of the things that I had remembered hearing way back is that they were asked to write this for Rocky III because Queen denied them another One Bites the Dust. They wanted to use that song, and they did not get permission. And so he basically sent the band, and when I say he, I mean Sylvester Stallone, sent the band an early cut of the movie to inspire him. And he said he wanted something with a pulse, like the driving pulse that matched the boxing sequences. And they, wrote it in just a couple weeks and got it to him, and it became a huge hit. And the video was, interspersed with clips from the movie, which I think this song was so huge. And I didn't even see, and this is going to sound like, I'm just a 11-year-old girl at the time. I hadn't really seen the Rocky movies. Of course I have seen them since,
right,
but this song got me to see the Rocky movies. So it was huge. And it won a Grammy. It was nominated for an Oscar for the best original song. It's it's one of those things, if you hear "Rising Up" back on the street, you start punching while you're running. It's it's a sports anthem. It will always be a sports anthem. It'll be playing in arenas and people's workout playlists, and obviously boxing events. So
all right. Well,
so we didn't plan that. We knew it. It could happen that we picked one of the same ones out of 40 or 35 other songs, but that's a big one. So I will pick since we kind of both did that, I'll go next for my other one, my second.
Go ahead.
I went through all the list. I had a couple. A couple on my mind. I almost chose, but I ended up sticking with this one, and that is "Hard to Say I'm Sorry" by Chicago. And I was just going to say, I'm not even sure where it was on the list. Hold on a second. I'll find it. It was, and I don't have all the chart information of it.
Yeah, I got it right here. That week it was number 34.
So was it moving up or down at that point?
It was moving up.
Okay.
But the peak position was number 34.
So it never got higher than this, which is that's kind of crazy in my mind. It was their lead single from Chicago 16, and it was the beginning of their big stylistic shift into kind of the power ballad Chicago with Cetera, less horns, less jazz, more Cetera's vocals, which I was a huge Peter Cetera fan, loved him. This was written by him and David Foster, who did a bazillion ballads and hits, and basically kind of pivoted Chicago into a very radio pop band with a lot of ballads. It was a big comeback hit for them. For me, so I was also in a movie. It was in a movie with Daryl Hannah and Peter Gallagher. It was called, what was it called? Summer something. I can't, it'll come to me, but Summer Lovers. That's what it was called, which I saw later, but that helped it get its exposure. But I was a big Chicago ballad fan. And, being a teenage girl going into my teen years, and kind of the same reason I like that other Survivor song is I loved cheesy ballads, and I still am a sucker for cheesy, like 80s ballads. And I used to make mixtapes called Sappy Sunday, and I would just do all the sappiest, best love songs of the 80s and early 90s for that matter, because I was making them into college. And this was a staple on that. And it was probably one of the first songs that I put on it. Just a great song. It has soaring vocals. It's got that good hook, and I love it. I can't. I'm apologetic about it, and I love Chicago in general.
So we're gonna. I'm gonna go down an opposite road with you on this.
Okay.
Because
you
again, our age difference is showing here. But I was a huge fan of Chicago in the 70s. When I was a kid. When I was a kid, I played trumpet, so this was my band to listen to when I wanted to hear some horns. So whether it was Beginnings, or whether it was 25 or 6 to 4, or whether it was Saturday in the Park, they had so many great songs that featured the horn. So this was an early band of mine that I really loved, and literally when this power ballad era started, Mama Kay, I took the next train out of town, and I didn't look back. so
I don't blame you. I get that. I totally get that. And I do understand if your band shifts so dramatically that you get perturbed, that you're losing what you fell in love with, for sure.
Right. Yeah. But
it introduced me to their earlier stuff, and I went back and I loved their early stuff. I loved the jazz and the horns and all of that too. So yeah. I mean, they're early. Again, their first 7 or 8 years were really, really a lot of good, rock pop with horns, throughout. So that was an interesting pick of yours, and we agree to disagree on this song. Of just like my that just exemplified my good old love of power ballads from the 80s.
Right. Well, and again, if you're 11 or 12 years old and you hear this, I get it. So for sure.
Hit it just a little after you. Yes, I was just a little younger. For sure.
So I'll give you my second wild card, and it's somebody who we've already mentioned on the charts, but Stevie Wonder that week had a song called "Do I Do," and this song got to it peaked at number 16, and it was on a compilation album that was released in 1982, Stevie Wonder's original Musicarium, and it was a bunch of his greatest hits, and he had a couple of new songs, and this was the single from that album. And in my mind, it's his last great song. Really, really funky, has a great bass part, horns. Stevie even raps towards the end of this song, which in 1982 was kind of on the newer side of things.
Yep.
Going back to my trumpet roots, Dizzy Gillespie, who's a famous jazz trumpeter, big band, played on this record. So again, a 17-year-old me who was still playing in my school's band and the jazz band, thought that was the coolest thing that Stevie Wonder had Dizzy Gillespie on the album.
Yeah.
Really, really good. The bass line is just so sweet on this song. And again, it's a song that to this day I still throw on every now and then because I love it so much.
Yeah,
you familiar with this song?
Yes, yeah. Do. Yep. There's my singing for today.
There you go.
It is probably one of my favorite Stevie Wonder songs as well. I'm going to say I was never a huge Stevie Wonder. Again, it's the same thing as I'll caveat. I'll say disclaimer that I said with the Beatles. Understand his genius. I get it. Like, I know why he was huge. But for some reason, his music just, I mean, again, I also am a little younger than you. He was really big with the, I just called to say I love you, right, and those types of things. And they were fine. Again, I didn't hate those songs or dislike them. It just wasn't always going to be something that spoke to me. This song, however, I really like. And I probably learned about it a little later. I don't know if I remember it back from this time in my life, but obviously I have, became familiar with it over the years, and I love this song. And if I were to think of Stevie Wonder's, his biggest hits, that this would be right up there as one of them that I would pick over the ones that were bigger when I was a little bit older.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. This was, again, like I kind of, it's a little sacrilegious, but I think this was his last great song. The rest that followed was kind of Part-Time Lover, and I Just Called to Say I Love You. And it was a little syrupy and sappy.
And it's funny because I like syrupy and sappy, but for some reason his syrupy, sappy songs didn't hit it for me. I don't think it was the style of sappy that I enjoyed. But I did like his more funky stuff. I preferred his older stuff.
Yes.
It's more so than his 80s, his big 80s stuff.
Yeah, amazingly talented musician.
Very.
He plays so many instruments, and amazing.
And huge reason that the We Are the World was ever made. So that forever be in my debt. I'll be in his debt for that, because that was a huge moment in my childhood. So.
Well, he famously showed Bob Dylan how to sing like Bob Dylan.
Right. I loved that. Did you see that documentary?
Yes.
Oh, so good. That was like.
Excuse me. Yes, it was. It was a fun documentary, and to see him imitating Bob. Do it this way.
Yeah.
It's for me.
So good.
It was really good.
Okay, well, great. Well, this was fun, and I think this went good for our first pilot episode. And so now is the moment where I send the prompt for ChatGPT to randomly give us a Saturday between January 1st, 1970 and December 31st, 2009, and see what the next countdown, or the next top 40, I'll forever call it a countdown, top 40 Billboard chart is that we're going to be looking at the next time we should get together, which will be in a couple weeks. And you're going to like this. We got lucky again.
Give it to me.
Here's a random Saturday in that range, June 27th, 1987.
Oh my God.
So
there you go.
Now you're talking my high school years. So that's going to be fun.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm thinking June of 87. I wonder if With or Without You is in the top 5 at that point.
Definitely going to be some U2, I think.
Let's not look. Don't look.
Let's not look. I'm not looking yet. No. But I think I'll enjoy this one. We got lucky twice with AI is coming through for us.
Excellent. Good.
Well, thank you so much, and we'll talk to everybody again for our next episode, which will be June 27th, 1987.